Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome. My name is Frederick Welly. I am the Associate Dean for Academic Affairs here at Berkeley Extension, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you all to this amazing event. We have an incredible audience with marketing executives joining us from around the world, and it's a real privilege and honor to host three remarkable thought leaders who are going to share their expertise and their insider knowledge with you, all of you innovators and marketers in the audience who want to learn how to tackle the new marketing challenges that we're all facing. Berkeley is a place built by change makers for change makers, and we're very happy to offer this event in partnership with our dear colleagues from the Fisher Center for Business Analytics at the Haas School of Business, with our colleagues from the Alliance for Inclusive AI and our colleagues from the Institute for Business Innovation, as well as our dear colleagues and friends from the Marketing Institute of Ireland. For me personally, I cannot wait for this event. I'm a marketer myself, and I will hand over the mic to our moderator, Gauthier Vasseur from the Fisher Center for Business Analytics at the Haas School of Business. Thank you, Gauthier, for being here with us today, and please take it away.
Yes, thank you, Frederick, and good morning, good afternoon, and well, good evening, everyone. You're coming from all over the world today to listen to three fine marketing professionals that will share their countless years of experience. So my name is Gauthier Vasseur. I am the Executive Director of the Fisher Center for Business Analytics and the founder and co-president of the Berkeley Alliance for Inclusive AI. Today, I have the honor to be the panel host. So before we begin, I wanted to say a special hello to my students and executive students at the Marketing Institute of Ireland, at the EAE Business School in Madrid and Barcelona, to my upcoming students at the HR and Marketing Masters of the University of Paris, Panthéon-Assas. And also I wanted to send my warmest thoughts to my students, peers, and friends over there in Ukraine. So today, to quote Frederick in a recent post, we are going to see if marketing has become mission impossible when we look at the complexity of situation and tools and metrics it has to face. And for this, we have brought together Ellie, Stephanie, and Michaela to see how marketers tackle these challenges today. So Ellie, Stephanie, and Michaela, welcome. And how about we start with a short introduction of each one of you. Ellie.
Thanks, Gauthier, and happy International Women's Day to everyone. I encourage you to start out thinking about the women in your lives that have inspired and supported you. So I'm the co-founder and CEO of Zoom Marketing. We're Silicon Valley's first and longest lasting positioning agency. And I think I have the best job in the world because we get to work with the leaders of the leading edge companies in the world and help them tell their stories. All the great work wouldn't be possible without my partner in crime, Nick Copping, and the amazing team at Zoom.
Hi, good to see everyone here. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you. Stephanie Buscemi. I'm currently the Chief Marketing Officer at Confluent. We are a company really building a new category of data in motion, which if time permits, we'll come on to that, but just a new way of thinking about getting and moving data. That's really going to change the way we've thought about databases and the movement of data over the last 30 years. We recently IPO'd, so it's been a very exciting time for us. Prior to that, I was the CMO of Salesforce and I was at Salesforce about 7 years. I've spent the majority of my career, I'd say last 25 plus years, in a variety of B2B tech leadership roles in marketing. And I absolutely love the art and science of marketing. And I actually really love where it sits in an organization. I think when done well, you get to really be at the epicenter of sitting between the products and services, the sales teams, the customers, and you really get to play a connective tissue role And I think it's a privilege and absolutely love doing it. So look forward to the conversation with all of you here today.
Hi, I'm Michaela Dempsey, a marketer, and think of myself as a customer advocate. I'm currently leading global integrated marketing for planning and sourcing at Workday. These were two of the acquisitions they made over the last couple years of Scout RFP and Adaptive. In a few weeks, I'll be exiting Workday actually and taking on a CMO role at a Series C startup that was incubated at Harvard, and very excited about that. My favorite thing, honestly, about marketing is bridging the possibility of great achievement to reality. And what does that mean? But really taking those risks and building something that changes everybody's life. So technology has given us all the possibilities of going to different places, and by working with your customers in different applications, it has changed people's worlds. And I just love that about marketing and about technology.
Well, we got three passionate and passionating women today on stage. And I'd love to get started with the first question, and maybe Ellie, you can start with it, lead with it. What hasn't changed and will never change in marketing ever? I mean, we see a lot of things moving on, going on, but what is there a stable core in marketing that you see?
Yes, thanks, Gauthier. Well, my understanding is that the core audience for this panel is Irish marketing executives. And so I thought, well, what better way to answer that question than with an excerpt from a poem from the beloved Irish English poet David Whyte. And it's called Everything is Waiting for You. Surely even you at times have felt the grand array, the swelling presence and the chorus crowding out your solo voice. You must note the way the soap dish enables you, or the window latch grants you courage. Alertness is the hidden discipline of familiarity. The stairs are your mentor of things to come. The doors have always been there to frighten you and invite you. And the tiny speaker in the phone is your dream ladder to divinity. Put down the weight of your aloneness and ease into the conversation. The kettle is singing even as it pours you a drink. The cooking pots have left their arrogant aloofness and seen the good in you at last. So my answer, storytelling. Marketing is storytelling. We're wired for stories. We connect to stories. We love to share stories. In marketing or for brands, stories should be unmistakably linked to your core differentiator. And that's kind of the magic. And what I love about marketing is figuring out a story that loves to be told and is linked to your core differentiator. I'll give you a very quick example. And I'll tell you the core differentiator and the story really quickly. And one of our clients is a company called ThoughtSpot, and they're in the analytics business. Their core differentiator is analytics as easy as your favorite consumer app. Now, here's the story. If I wanted to find out who won the semifinals of the 2004 French Open, who did Rafael Nadal beat in the semifinals of the 2004 French Open, what was the score? I could find that out in less than a second. Now, let's say I'm the CMO of a global brand, and I want to find out how a particular campaign is doing, how particular products within that campaign are doing, who are they selling well to and who are they not, and especially how are they doing in Ireland? Well, that would not be as quick as a Google search. So the answer, by the way, is Rafael Nadal beat Roger Federer 6-3, 4-6, 6-4, 6-3. Just a quick checklist for a great brand story. Your salespeople actually use the story that you came up with. And when they use the story, the customers are nodding in the right direction. Your employees and your leadership team say the story. Your customers engage with the story. They share the story. They can't help but share the story. It connects to the story that's in the customer's own mind about why they will or will not be successful or have the transformation that is desired. Your competitors are forced to respond to your story. And lastly, you, the CMO or the marketing leader, love the story and love telling the story. It connects to who you are. So the one thing I think that will never change, and I hope never changes, is that marketing is about connecting great stories to your core differentiator.
Very good. Very good. So, and how about you? What is your angle, Stephanie, on what will always be there in marketing?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more on the storytelling aspect of it. Like, nothing's better than a great story. It's repeatable, it's memorable. It usually reaches both head and heart. So I'm definitely a +1 to all of Ellie's comments. What hasn't changed is the idea that you have to put the customer at the center. You have to put whoever you're trying to reach at the center of everything that you do. And I think we've always said that. Like, if you kind of go back down memory lane and look at different marketing over the years, whether that be, pardon me, B2B or B2C, whether you look at what was taught in school or what was actually done in practice, everyone's always made advances as marketers to try to better understand their customers and prospects. So that is the same, the importance of understanding, know your audience. However, what has changed radically is what is at our disposal to actually understand those customers. So, you know, the days of doing a focus group kind of behind a glass wall with a bowl of M&Ms, I would say, is gone. Not that it's not of value, but there's so many more sophisticated tools that are at our disposal now. So I look at it and go, we now can have connected engagement with customers and prospects because of all of the data and all of the tools at our disposal. And I think that's what most of us are trying to work through. Like, for all of this now accessible to us, are we any smarter about our customer and prospect? And are we engaging with them in a more personalized way? So I'll give you some examples around it. I look at it and go, so what's changed? Well, I cringe to think of 25 years ago how much direct mail I used to drop. You know, I had a list of addresses and I dropped it, and then I waited, and, you know, we did some post-mortem 60 days later to find out how many people got the direct mail and how many were sitting in the hall closet returned. Like, that was the state of it, doing a bunch of direct mail, and you had some ads in a magazine, and there you go. Now, there's all this information, not only at our fingertips, but at the customer and prospects. So, not to sound cliche, but it truly is an information economy. We know the amount of data and information is vast and sprawling, and we have access to it, and our customers and prospects do. So one is, when you put the customer at the center now, you have to realize they are a heck of a lot more informed than they were previously. They are much more powerful, meaning they're better informed, and they want to lean in. They have higher expectations. So when you think about, and I'll try to use both B2C and B2B examples, but as I'm in B2B, when you think about whether you build a new product, whether you acquire a company, or whether you partner, you should have the customer at the center. The customer should and can be part of that conversation now. They want to lean in on helping. They want to co-create with you. So I look at it now in terms of like customer advisory boards. 20 years ago, when I was in tech, we would come in and we'd talk at them and we would present a product roadmap. And this is what's coming in the next quarter. They were not shaping what we were building. We were just kind of giving them an early sneak peek. Now they're at the table co-creating with us. We are actually piloting, we are co-innovating together with our customers, as an example, in tech. And I think we have to recognize that they have more information and access, we have more information and access, and are we both using it super smartly on both sides? We all have now mobile, we have AI, we have all these things at our disposal, and how are we using it? Two really great examples, which I think I said earlier I would get to, and now I'm going to, which is one, an example would be GM's, General Motors, in terms of their on track. Well, when they came about with OnTrack, who would have known OnTrack was originally built in the cars for safety and navigation purposes. And that was the point of it. But what happened was they realized, wait a minute, now we can do this connected car and we can bring the vehicle to life far beyond navigation. What we can do is have a whole family of in-vehicle apps, entertainment, and more. So what happened there? That all that information that the car is throwing off is now being sold to retailers, consumer packaged goods retailers. So now you're driving down the road, you're in your GM OnStar. Who would have known 15 years ago, a marketer would now be spending money to target, hey, I'm running marketing for a donut company. I've got someone driving on the highway. Now in the car, I can create that experience. Like there's a 2-for-1 for this on the next exit on the freeway. Like that's in the moment. They can get personalized information. They can get a lot of information knowing like, hey, what model did they buy? You know, what's the likely demographic of the person behind the wheel? That's an example. Another example of co-creating with the customer is, I did a lot of work with Stanley Black & Decker. Well, you think about that, power tools. It used to be somebody went into whatever the box store was that sold the power tool. You'd go in and you would buy it, and it might collect dust in somebody's garage. And they really didn't know how it was being. Well, now with IoT and connected devices, is completely transformed the way they have information at Stanley Black & Decker about usage. Now they can target on adoption. They can understand how the product is being used or not being used and proactively reach out. They can drive preventative maintenance. They can see if somebody's using it a lot, and they can look through the patterns and understand this is likely this power tool is gonna, pardon me, crap out, and we should send them an offer for a replacement or a new. So thinking just about the explosion of data and information, both put the customer at the center. How are you using that? Not just kind of rudimentary demographic, but behavioral engagement in product. How are you using all of that in really creative ways to shape, showing your customer that you understand them, and vice versa, because they're using it. They're using it now because they have it. So that was a long answer, but hopefully you get the idea.
Very nice. I love the examples, Stephanie. And how about you, Mihaela? What hasn't changed and will never change in marketing? And maybe what are the tools that go around to support that foundation?
So I'll add to customer because the foundational importance of customer collaboration at every stage, in my opinion, will never change. Adding to what Stephanie was sharing, understanding their needs, building deeper brand relationships, delivering better experiences and innovation, again, on all that she was sharing. A true customer partnership will deliver improved communication, increased success, and honestly, new friends. And if I unpack that a little bit, it gets back to what I call core elements that if you think about marketing, a lot of times people dive into data and dive across data and look at data, but these are people. And if you think about maybe what your grand had shared with you, you have to send thank you notes. You have to do these core pieces to build a human relationship. And although technology gives us advances that we need, it's with those interpersonal relationships that really help build a stronger product, a stronger solution overall. And the data gets you to the question, but the people get you to the answer. And so one of the ways that I've continually built successful companies and marketing organizations is truly by collaborating with the customer. And it can be as simple as when you're writing a research paper, sharing it with them to make sure you're on point, to really walk through things with them, to treat them as a peer. And if you really want to think about marketing in a different way, especially when you're doing SaaS, you know, it's different and different industries, but in SaaS, if you think about it, your product is truly part of that business's ecosystem. And so if there's challenges with your product because it's living within that ecosystem, you're hurting their business. So you really need to have that intimate relationship with the customer to understand where their true challenges are, not glossy words, not future think, but true challenges and solving them. Because ultimately, software or anything that you have, there's going to be a lack of something. And you want to know where that lack is. You want to be able to communicate it and talk about it and build on that relationship. And it doesn't matter what size company you are, and it doesn't matter what size person that you want to talk to. It's all about communication. It's all about taking that step forward and having a genuine, open conversation so that you can build something together that will help ultimately everyone.
And yeah, I'd like to finish on the type of levers you could use to do this, because now you're addressing the world, you're addressing global communities. Are there any new type of levers that you think about?
Oh, so yeah, there's great levers. So in all different areas, so using social tools, there have been times where I am looking for pricing challenges, let's say, or how to present, and using tools like LinkedIn to go out and ask complete strangers that are specialists in those areas to give you feedback on what they might do. And it's amazing when you ask. It's all about asking. As you go, reach out and ask. It's collaborating with the customer when you're doing things. It's asking them their feedback. It's using all the tools that are available. So analysts will do the same with you. You can reach out to them and ask questions and share documents with them, and build content and build all the pieces in your marketing world that truly have value.
How about you, Ellie? Do you have some examples of either classic or new levers that marketing leverages?
So I think, you know, what we've seen is that good content is king. And I have 4 ideas that I could share that are about good storytelling and community that I hope will inspire you. Something old, something new, something borrowed, and something viral. So the something old is billboards. Billboards were invented in the 1830s by a man named Jared Bell, and they were used to advertise circuses. And one of our clients, Snowflake, which is, they had the largest IPO in software history. And they created these billboards that are up Highway 101, for those of you in the Bay Area. These billboards are the morning commute, so you can't miss them. And they're sort of, you see me data, Sue data, tear down this wall, meaning the data wall. So they're kind of plays on what's happening in current events. And they also bring home Snowflake's mission, which is to enable every company to be data-driven. So that's not a new lever. It's a very old lever, but it's a great content. And so my second example, they actually also won the Best Billboards on 101 award from Forbes. My second is a new lever, and it's a client I mentioned, ThoughtSpot. and they're in the analytics business, and their customer is the chief data officer. And if you imagine the chief data officer is a very private person who takes her job very seriously and really values learning from others. So they created this whole community for the data chief. And one of the centerpieces of it is the podcast, where they interview thought leaders in data science and talking about, so for example, they had Rakuten's CDO talking about getting a CEO to love data, or Estee Lauder's chief data officer talking about treating data as a product. And so this, beyond the podcast, they also have a lot of community opportunities. They have a private Slack community, a LinkedIn community, and this kind of to what Stephanie was saying about putting both Stephanie and Michaela were saying, put this customer at the center and provide support to them. What these chief data officers need is ideas and best practices. They don't need glossy brochures. They need to know what their peers are doing in this space. So using a lot of digital platforms, communities, online communities, and hopefully at some point this year, they'll be doing in-person roundtables as well. But that's a new idea for a new lever they can pull. Something borrowed is one of our clients, another unicorn. It's a company called Flowcast, and they make accounting software. So, I mean, that's not the most exciting product in the world, but they're based in Southern California near Hollywood. And their key differentiator is that they were created by accountants for accountants. And so they had an idea to borrow from Hollywood and create a sitcom. So they created a YouTube channel, and they created a show called PBC, which is an inside joke for accountants. It means prepared by client. And I think Gautier can show a quick trailer of the show.
Absolutely. There you go.
Sarah, welcome. Here is your new amazing team.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah. I'm the new senior accountant.
I am your leader.
No accountant ever grew up wanting to be an accountant, ever.
I do my best work when I've been drinking.
The auditors are showing up tomorrow.
What's it like being an auditor during busy season? HE double, it's hell.
My biggest problem is how can I do as little work as possible? At this point, I'm clocking in only 7 minutes of actual work a day.
I hate people. I hate all people. I especially hate these people. I just try to be audit I can be.
No, none of that. This is a pun-free zone.
They just kicked that off last year, and they already have 5 million subscribers to their channel. And some of the comments you'll see in there is, this is the best piece of cinema about accountants I've ever seen in my life. It's so relatable and accurate. It hits every time. I've never felt so seen. And their clients have watch parties for the new episodes. And I will tell you that even this was created by accountants. The CEO of Flowcast wrote the first few episodes, and they have some of their customers have kind of gone through and highlighted all the inside jokes for accountants that only accountants would get. So that is the borrowed example. And last, I don't have a visual, but it's the viral example. Another one of our clients is Sochi, and they make a marketing platform for multi-location brands like franchises. And one of their customers is Ace Hardware, which is known as the helpful place. And a customer went into Ace to get some stuff to have a tire, to change their tire. They had a flat tire. And the cashier actually went out and changed their tire. And that just blew that customer away. They took a picture of the cashier changing the tire and posted it on social, tagging Ace Hardware, and everyone started commenting and sharing, and that went viral. So user-generated content is something new. It's it's scary because you can't control it as a marketer, but you want to set the wheels in motion to create that type of user-generated content. People are looking at reviews before they make decisions, and they trust user comments more than the brands. So those are my something old, something new, something borrowed, something viral examples of great storytelling and community building.
Very good. Very good. Thank you, Ellie. And I'll probably watch this video 10 times. Nobody knows. But I'm a former
your secret background?
Yeah, I'm a former accountant back in the days. So I did run accounting teams. So moving actually from accounting to numbers, I wanted to see with first maybe with Mihaela the type of metrics that is now has become key for a marketeer. And I know there could be a lot of them. They could be of many kind depending on your business goals. But is there a new type or a classic type of metric you stick to usually? Mihaela?
Yes. So, the metrics I really feel are critical are the, in software for, the kind of organizations that I work for, our pipeline percent coverage, the stage that it's in, customer churn, and of course, depending on the type of company and where you are. So if you're a public company versus, a startup, it's your program dollars to pipeline, the content engagement, your qualified lead flow. It all sounds pretty standard, but the reality is that you want to really look at the heartbeat. But the ultimate goal of any business is to grow and to add customers and to keep customers. And so really looking at those main critical pieces that the whole company can center around are really the metrics that I personally feel are critical. It's not who did what or where it came from, but honestly, how you're driving the business forward. And the closer that we can get to it, in my opinion, to a world like that, it keeps sales and marketing and the rest of the organization really driving to the same point, as opposed to mine, yours, and not ours.
Excellent. And how about you, Stephanie? You probably saw, with your previous experience at Salesforce and now your more startup experience, what are the key metrics you look at to keep the pulse of your marketing teams?
Yeah, a couple things. I think one, I wholeheartedly agree with Michaela, like very specific to B2B marketing. I think it's super important that marketing can show a direct connection to growth, customer growth, revenue growth, customer retention, both landing new customers and then cross-selling and upselling. So I think it's really important that at any time you can be able to look your CFO in the eye and say, if you give me $1, I'm going to be able to give you this much back. And be able to have that conversation at a pretty granular level. In tech, that might be by country, that might be by segment. Is this large enterprise accounts? Is this small business? Is this medium-sized business? By industry. And one of the things I would say is I've always been a big proponent of analytics. I've worked for a couple different analytics companies, but I can say that early in my career, I learned the power and the value of using analytics to help get more investment in marketing, because I learned early in my career that if I could actually present back the ROI on the marketing investment, that it was much easier than you kind of took the emotion out of the conversation. Many CFOs and many CEOs that I've met over my career, they see, they go, you don't make it, you're not product, and you don't sell it, you're not the sales team. Guess what? Marketing is fat in the organization. not always a flattering term, but I've faced CEOs and CFOs who think of it as purely a cost center. And so one, I would say, just kind of building on what Michaela is saying, is making sure that you shift that mindset, that you can see it as aligned to being a growth center, and that every dollar in, they're going to get X in return, and build that into your like lingua franca for negotiating your budget and all of those good things. So one, I do think that's super important. The other thing I would say regarding metrics is I have found that historically there's a tendency for every functional marketer to have a lot of pride about their specific area. And what I mean by that is the social team will tell you all they're doing to reach on social. The web team will tell you all the traffic they're getting on the website. The events team will tell you how many people showed up to their event. And I really try to take that stovepipe view and turn it on its side and incent the marketing team to look holistically at engagement. So for me, what's rather than the individual clicks or the individual event attendees or the number of new followers on social, I look at two things. One, an account engagement score, which obviously is very important in B2B selling. You're not selling to one person. There is a group evaluating and buying and consuming your software. So there's an account engagement score that we basically say, what are all the ways that we are engaging? And that goes beyond the four walls of marketing. That is like, how is our service organization engaging? How is our billing team? I mean, is it awful to go through payment with us? What does that look like? So what are all those touch points of engagement? And then we create a score and we put values on that. And that's a discussion that we have so that we understand and we can say, where are these customers on engagement at an account level? Then we also do a contact level score. And that contact level score was initially born to help us with lead scoring, to try to make our sales teams more efficient and more effective. Because I think many of us know in B2B, you're typically, as marketing, you're generating a lot of what I would call suspect interest. And then historically, it's just dumped over to the sales team. And we all know the truth of the matter is they don't have time. And in the past, they'd sort of spreadsheet and maybe by A through Z, and they just start calling, and it wasn't a good use. And the reality is we understand now that when you give that sales team, by the way, in B2B tech, an account executive is a very expensive proposition to a company. It's a very expensive resource. So if you hand them 10 what you think are marketing qualified leads, the reality is usually 8 of those we should be holding back, and marketing should be using its own channels to incubate and nurture. Then what are those 2? If we know we're only going to get that rep to spend 30 minutes in the morning making a couple of cold calls, what are the very best ones there? And so for me, the account engagement score makes it a team sport across sales, enablement, partner marketing, all of marketing. Everyone in the company looks at the account engagement score and goes, there's no conversation there. Are we not relevant? What's not happening? The contact allows us to, by the way, weight contacts, which some are of higher value to us than others. You could imagine when you're trying to make a big technical buying decision, if we can have a high level of engagement with a chief technical officer versus maybe somebody who isn't as empowered with a budget. So that engagement score model has become increasingly important. And then being able to take all that data from the score and then being able to show contribution back to revenue, to me, are the most important ones to follow.
Oh, very good. Very good. So that makes actually a great overview of what needs to be seen. So now I want to, maybe continue with you, Stephanie. With that question, beyond the value proposition that marketing pushes forward, what about all these sustainability, ethics, political stance that companies need to take? I mean, taking a stance, communicating about it doesn't fill the pipeline, does it? It doesn't really create demand directly, but still marketing needs to be involved. How should it be involved? What's your take on that?
Yeah, so coming from Salesforce, I would say I loosely call it values-based marketing, and I'll elaborate on that. There's different terms out there, but I think companies have to stand for more than their products and services, particularly as you look at the Gen X and the millennials. They are going to buy from people and companies that they believe have shared values with them. So they don't want to be purely transactional. And there's numerous studies out there that show this, that these younger generations, they are going to put their money with companies that they believe share the same values. So they might like your product, but if they don't see that your purpose matches with them, they're likely not going to stay with you or not going to transact with you. So they want you to stand for more than just purely your products and services. So then the question is, how do you go about that? How do you go about communicating that? And I can give some really specific examples at Salesforce, because the company said, we are values driven. And one of our taglines was, business is the greatest platform for change. The belief that businesses do need to lean in on sustainability, on social issues, on all of these things, and give back and help influence positive change in the world. This notion that a company doesn't have shareholders, they have stakeholders, and you need to be giving back. So the question is how? And what I've learned through this is that you cannot be everything to everyone. And I'll give you an example. Salesforce has a lot of resources at its disposal, large budgets, big company, and everyone in the world would come and ask us. And we had to get very deliberate about, are we going to try to help support all causes and all things? And let's start making those decisions tied to our values. So trust was one of our core values as a company. It was actually put into place 23 years ago when the company was started, because if you think about it, when they started 23 years ago, it really wasn't about Salesforce automation. It was no software, if you remember the logo, and it was really about evangelizing the notion of the cloud and to trust putting your data in the cloud. The first 5 years of that company, I've audited the old marketing content. Nothing really was talking about what you did as a salesperson in Salesforce. It was all just to get you to believe and trust that you could put your data in the cloud. So trust has been a theme. And so we use the values of the company, same thing at Confluent. And I say, use those values as your compass. All these things are going to come to you as opportunities. And it's easy to get reactive and be like, oh, these social issues are going on in the world. This war is going on. Anchor back to your values and make your decisions about that. And then hold true to that. One of the things, I'll give you a very specific example. In the US, there was lots of, there's been lots of school shootings. And when one very well documented one, Sandy Hook Elementary School in Massachusetts happened, I think it's Massachusetts, maybe it's Connecticut, but anyway, people were devastated. And we at Salesforce said, do we allow any of our customers to sell firearms because we have a commerce product? And how would we feel if we could track back that that ammunition, those things were bought and transacted through a Salesforce commerce platform? Would we be okay with that? And we agreed as a company we would not be okay with that. And so as an outcome of those shootings, we had 30 customers that we didn't just cut off during the night. We went to them and said, when your renewal comes up, we will not be renewing with you as long as you're selling these arms, because anyone can access them. And we don't want to know that anything was transacted through the Salesforce platform. So again, we're going back to our core values, what we believed in as a company. and the health and well-being of every human. And we said, we don't want to, even though we would be removed, we don't want to have a piece in that. Many people may have remembered when there was issues on Border Patrol in the US, and Salesforce worked with Border Patrol, a government agency, and we did not end the relationship with them. And we took tremendous blowback. We were running Dreamforce, our largest event of the year. I was CMO, and I remember in the middle of the evening, a bunch of protesters coming and projecting all over Moscone Center, which is this massive convention center, in the evening lights, cage force. Can you imagine as a marketer how that was to deal with? You know, they were basically saying, we are helping putting children in cages. So I'm digressing a bit, but the point being is, like, you have to understand the core values of the company. They can't be made up. They can't be a plaque on the wall. You have to use those as the compass to then anchor back as all these opportunities or decisions come your way. And it has to be authentic. So, and you have to be super transparent with your customers about it, because you have to say, like, these are the causes that we are going to lean in on, and these are the causes we're not going to lean in. Another example of leaning in is in the US, in both Georgia and in Indiana. Actually, our former Vice President Pence, when he was leading in Indiana, there was legislation being put in place against gay people. And Salesforce's second largest hub in terms of total population of employees is Indiana. A lot of people don't know that. Just for a little history lesson, Salesforce acquired ExactTarget, the core of the Marketing Cloud product, the email product today. And they were at Indiana, and our employees came and said, we had a massive number of employees come forward and say, this isn't consistent with our values, and we need you to do something. And we immediately made the decision, and we said, we went to the state of Indiana and Georgia, and we said, we'll pull our businesses out of Georgia and Indiana. And then we went and we got the 5 other largest companies in those states to rally with us. I mean, you want to talk about stretching beyond your products and services. Yeah. We used our power of our size to say, not only will we remove our business from those states and fight against this legislation, but we actually rallied with other CEOs and other companies. So I think it's really important to think about, what are the values of the company? It has to be authentic. You have to be consistent, and then brutal transparency with customers and employees about, we can't go to the mats on every topic out there and every issue in the world. What ones are we going to lean in and give our time, our money, and conversation to?
Yeah. Do you see that? What do you see? How do you see it happening on your side, Michaela? Yes, so how do you see marketing trying to do this balancing act between taking instances and selling stuff?
So sort of lean in a bit on what Stephanie was saying. At Workday, very similar to Salesforce, is a very, very mission values driven company to a full extreme. And it's great to have the tech companies, especially in the Bay Area. They do tend to really lean in together on these issues. In Workday's case, their number one value is employees, and that is very, very true to core. Their belief is that if the employees are happy, then customers will be happy, and everything is based on really the happiness of the employee. And it's an amazing thing, and it's great when a large organization can do that. But stepping into a more, an answer that you and I had discussed earlier when we were preparing for this webinar. So, and again, as Stephanie had shared, customers are more likely to do business with a brand that proceeds to be committed to diversity, to inclusion, and the environment. And how technically can marketing get involved? So when you're at a big organization, there's a lot of really big things you could do, and you can still have those stances certainly as a younger business.
Yeah.
But one way that marketers fully, truly, wholly can help in this situation, no matter the size of their organization, the size of anything, is the dollars that we have to spend. So there are laws, environmental, social, and governance laws called ESG. It's a criteria that is almost like a corporate score on your business. And it basically is compiled by looking at all the different things that you do within the organization, and looks at supplier metrics. And so one of the key things that you can do as a marketer is really work with your procurement team. If you don't have a procurement team, if you're small, you can look at the suppliers that you're looking and look to get a diverse supplier, a smaller supplier, and help build that out. Certainly you can use large companies to supply things that you need to have. Anyone can do that, but you can also take an opportunity to award those contracts and score those suppliers on what they're doing, looking deeper into the supply chain and how they're connected to other things. Because even if you have a supplier that looks like a good supplier, they may down the chain have someone that really isn't doing things at the best interest, and can have an effect ultimately, if you are a big organization, on the outcome, as Stephanie had shared with at Dreamforce, right? Like, you may not understand that the second level of your supplier. So by having that supplier scorecard, having that understanding, having a greater understanding overall. And if you think about it, someone's supplier is someone else's business. And as we connect through as a fabric across the world, it just helps to build for an overall better environment, and then helps those communities in which those suppliers are employing people and delivering products.
That's great. And maybe Ellie, do you have any example that could complement how companies do stand up and show their commitment?
Yeah, I can echo what both Stephanie and Michaela said. And I was kind of smiling when Stephanie said, the posters on the wall, because when I first started in Silicon Valley, most companies looked like the same posters, that said teamwork with everyone rowing, or integrity. And that was about as far as the values went. They stayed on the wall. We actually did a offsite with a client recently at a beautiful Japanese garden, and it was with the leadership team and the board. It was to do our positioning work, and the CEO kicked off the brainstorm with a guided meditation. I just can't imagine that, 20 years ago. And he really set the tone. It was genuine, authentic, and he just set the tone for us to all listen and be supportive and curious. And then you look at what's going on in Ukraine, and it's unprecedented how brands are getting involved with helping the Ukrainian people, putting their own sanctions on Russia. I think we'll look back at this point in history and be amazed at how brands are playing a role here. But I totally agree and have seen what Stephanie and Michaela said, that you can't get involved with everything. You have to pick what are your values, your mission that is really true to your company, that you can align actions behind, and meaningful, powerful actions. And I think you can't have that conversation without talking about Patagonia. They are one of the leaders in sort of mission-driven business, and you could, if you're shopping on their site, you could click on a jacket and see the entire supply chain, the transparency of what it costs the environment and the laborers to bring that jacket to you. They talk about using only organic cotton and recycled down. And what was the mill, and how were the laborers treated? So they've really opened everyone's eyes to the supply chain that Michaela was talking about in the retail industry. And now you see other retailers are imitating that. And Rose Marcario, who was the CEO of Patagonia, she left recently, but she said they would sit around, the leadership team would sit around and talk about things they could do that none of their competitors would dare do. Like they sued the Trump administration for stealing their public lands. They placed a full page ad in the New York Times on Black Friday that said, "Don't buy this jacket." And they were really taking a swipe at consumerism. So that's really getting your tribe and getting your community to be excited about and loyal to and talk about your brand. And one other example is Seventh Generation. And they're also a mission-driven company. Their mission is in their name. They want to have a sustainable planet for the next 7 generations. And they're really doing this campaign around come clean, #ComeClean, and putting transparency behind the label, because a lot of the ingredients in our cleaning products, whether it's home cleaning or personal cleaning, are harmful to the environment or even to us. And so this is a quick ad they ran with a Saturday Night Live actress, Maya Rudolph, that I just thought was funny.
Seventh Generation gets the ingredients in their laundry detergents from plants, not petroleum. And this stuff beats stains. It's kind of a big deal. Let me tell you, it squashes 60 of your toughest stains and leaves your clothes looking radishing. So let us make the right choice and choose Seventh Generation's plant-based detergent. Is that too corny? Seventh Generation, powered by plants, tested on 60 of your toughest stains.
So I think, kind of to wrap it up, business as a force for good is good for the bottom line.
Oh, very good. Well, thank you for these examples. Now it's time to take some questions from the audience, and we have we have two right now that have come to the surface. One is about ethics and privacy in a world where you're gonna get less and less data about your clients due to privacy rules. So is that a challenge? Are there other ways to do that? If you could answer in a concise way, because we have little time.
I'll start on it. I think if I heard right, it was a question about privacy. And just I just want to validate first, the question's really like how to be thinking about that as marketers moving forward.
Yes, exactly. What you're going to do with possibly less data from your clients or from your consumers, because they're going to get more private about it. Are you going to get different types of data, different types of insight?
Right. Okay. So, I think it's interesting, like we as marketers kind of got a bit of a fix on like cookie data. And as we know, the inevitable death of the cookie and what we call third-party data, I think there was such a swing towards that for many years, and we all had such a reliance on that. And so we were pushing a lot of money out into third-party paid media and under investing in what we called first-party data. And when I think about first-party data, I always go back to Salesforce to people, because I'm like, it's a CRM system for marketers. Like that is what building out first-party data is. And so I think there is no shortcut. I don't think there's any shortcut anymore on how you're going to reach these folks and do it in a trusted way that you're going to be able to have a long-term relationship, unless you build out a first-party data strategy. And to me, I look historically, again, I'm going to use B2B. I would say B2C is typically more sophisticated, but on B2B, you know, there's something like a Salesforce automation system. And then there's typically sitting outside of that, a marketing contact database. There's integrations between the two. And then there's lots of lists that exist around the company under desks and on people's laptops. And so really getting back to what I was saying before about having that account engagement score and that contact data, that contact score, investing in really building out your profile and your knowledge of your first party data of your customer, and instrumenting it in a way that you have a consolidated view of that and that you have the associated governance in place.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, I'll give an example. Email. You know, we have TikTok, we have SMS text, we have a million. There's the channel hype cycle. There'll always be a new channel introduced. But as much as email gets a bad rap, guess what? Email and B2B still is a top performer. So as much as people are like, email's so yesterday, guess what? It's still being read, or it's still, you know, a top performer, at least in B2B. However, if you look now with the data privacy laws and historically, marketing has had a hard enough time trying to keep its own email database in order, meaning, are we really honoring what we're saying in terms of the number, the frequency? Have people put preference centers, giving the power to the customer prospect to say, it's not binary. I'm not opting in or out. I want these types of communications from you, and I don't want those. I would say on average, marketers get about a C on doing that, and a grade in B2B. We'll now look at it. It's now add overlay many more channel ways of communication, SMS text. You're looking at all these ways, you're getting out into communities and conversations. You cannot look at these things in isolation. You just simply won't be successful. You have to be able to have a first party data strategy where you can pull that structured and unstructured data together and have a view, and then govern and say, this is the way, the rules of the road. This is how the customer told us they're willing for us to interact with them. Not everyone can email or reach out at any time.
Very good. So it's about to closing time. We have one last question from the audience, and I'll start with Mihaela, and you can all take a stab at it. I think that's going to be very compelling for everyone to hear your opinion about that. You're not a $1 billion company. Do you get a chance? Do you have a chance in this world to do impactful marketing? How do you do that? Go to that bigger play to make a dent on the market. Michaela, is it all about money or?
Yeah. I think, you know, every company has a chance to do social impact and engagement, and you know, there's different ways. Media shifts and obviously change the way we can bring out that conversation. And so ultimately we need to stay curious and examine the different channels, and then, you know, bring out those important topics that again align to our company's core values and our customers' core values. You know, that's, you know, you're that home base for those organizations, and you want to make sure that you're ultimately aligned within that channel.
Very good. How about you, Ellie? Do you have a take? Do you have to be rich? Do you have to be rich to be successful in marketing?
No, I think that's what I would love my message to be to everyone, is to love this creative field. You know, it's a creative field of storytelling. So look at Flowcast, you know, they created a sitcom on YouTube, and just love the creativity of what is your story? How can I connect it to my customers in an authentic way and leverage the channels that matter to them, to my audience?
Very good. So, we're about, at the time, I would not leave this panel without asking to the three of you. I mean, you are successful professionals in the field. I mean, you made headways in Silicon Valley. Give us at least one secret to be successful for all of us. One secret, one word to be a good marketeer.
I would say customers. The more you can align to your customers, make your customers part of your life, your friends, you will have bounty. It's fun. Marketing is fun. Building things is fun. Making mistakes is a great way to learn, and just go for it. Take a chance.
Very good. How about you, Ellie?
Yeah, I would say purpose. I've looked at a lot of marketing leaders' bios, and they most have one of 3 P's: proven, performance, passionate. And I would add a 4th P of purpose. What is your own purpose? How do you envision your purpose in life, and how does it intersect with what you do?
Very good. And to conclude, Stephanie, what's your secret?
Yeah, I have a bias for speed, and I believe we're living in a very dynamic situation, and I believe marketing is all about constantly reinventing. And so I don't think it's a job that's for the faint of heart. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you think about metaphorically, you're always trying to be the most relevant, like, to whatever's going on around you. And that's tricky, whether it's a war, a pandemic, it's a sporting season, it's the Olympics, whether it's something good or bad, you are trying to stay relevant and get mind share. And that requires a nimbleness and a speed. I find sometimes as marketers, we will get mired in like our processes, and we lose sight that like it's a dynamic world out there. And I think right now, I know in B2B, I think the B2B playbook of the last 10 years is getting blown up. And I would just say speed right now, and experiment. And I think Ellie said it, you're going to make mistakes, but you're also going to find something brilliant in that.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Ellie. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Michaela, for making that time to be here today and share this wealth of information. As far as I know, I don't have secrets in marketing, but I definitely have secrets into learning. I want to thank Frederic and Nadej and the team for putting up so wonderful programs where we get to learn in classic classes, online or in front of a faculty or an instructor, and also throughout these panels who bring together amazing talents. And I think that's my secret: keep on learning using the great offerings of Berkeley and Berkeley Global.
Thank you very much for having us. It was wonderful.